Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. It's still mostly dark outside here, 5:37 a.m. Central Time, but I can see little glints of the blue, as the day breaks. So as we get closer to August, then it'll be darker and darker in the morning. This pretend time, 5:38 a.m. daylight savings time. In reality, it's 4:38 a.m. if you're using true time. Okay. My father and I always rant and raving about daylight savings time. We can't stand it. Yes, most people do. People say, but you get extra daylight in the evening. Yeah, but it's like pitch black dark at 6 a.m. in August, September. Oh, well. Today, this morning, tonight, this morning, today, we have a famous blended American blended whiskey, actually the most famous, I guess you would say, Seagram 7 Crown, introduced in 1934, one of the top selling whiskeys in America, one of the top 5, I think. Anyway, of course, Jack Daniels is #1 and Jim Beam is #2, and I can't remember the list. I think Fireball has gone into the #2 spot. Fireball, if you want to call it a whiskey, a flavored whiskey-based concoction. But you could look that up. There's stats on it. Okay, but anyway, this is one of the top ones. I didn't say it was one of the best. I said one of the top selling whiskeys of any sort, and it is the best-selling blended whiskey. 75% grain neutral spirits. The grain alcohol. 25% straight whiskey, which is probably bourbon, which might be Bullet, since it's coming from the same distillery. This 7 Crown is what used to be the 5 Crown. And what I mean is, back in the 30s and the 40s, I didn't see any ads about the 50s. It looked like that's when they changed over. They used to have 7 Crown and 5 Crown. 5 Crown was like the budget. It was like 75% grain neutral spirits, 25% straight whiskey. And then the 7 Crown was like 65% filler and 35% straight whiskey. But they suddenly dropped the 5 Crown, and then you only saw the 7 Crown, which was the old 5 Crown formula. So they cheapened it. Didn't seem to affect the sales. Kind of like when Jack Daniels lowered their proof. I can't say they lowered the quality of the product, but lowered the proof from 90 to 80 over like a 15-year period, hoping nobody would notice. Some people noticed, but the sales actually increased. It seemed like people prefer the 80 proof over the 90 proof. I know I do. All right, so 7 Crown. This is kind of the new label. About 5-6 years ago, they came out with this newer, more modern label. I was trying to think, what is the 7 Crowns? Then I say, oh, okay. It's like a menorah. Makes sense. Jewish owners, the Bronfman family, since the 1920s. They kept it until 2000 when they lost control of the company due to an implosion of the company. And so, okay. Now, at the old Seagram's distillery, it's owned by It's owned by Midwest Grain Products today, MGP. They do a lot of distilling for Diageo. here's another product coming out that distillery. So the 7 Crown is owned by Diageo today, okay? This is Old Camp. Old Camp American blended whiskey. They don't give the ratio on here or even an age statement. I'm going to go to Walmart one day in the next week. I'm going to try to see, look at the big bottles and see if they have an age statement on them. It seems, I think the labeling requirements is it has to be, no matter how small the bottle is, it has to have that. So if it doesn't have an age statement, that means this must be age 4 years. Look how light. Well, we'll look at the glasses. I know the Seagram 7 Crown does not have an age statement. Therefore, the straight whiskeys in there are aged at least 4 years. So these should be similar. Both 80 proof. They're both coming from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They're owned by 2 different companies. Old Camp is owned by Florida Georgia Line, that band. And like I said, Diageo owns 7 Crown. But they're 80 proof, age at least 4 years, and they're blended. I don't know the ratio for the Old Camp, though. I'm suspecting 80-20, but I don't know. That is not their popular one. The blended is not their popular one. The regular blended. The popular one is the peach pecan. You see people drinking it. There's videos for it. All kind of people talking about, oh, peach pecan, peach pecan. I've never had it. That's the only thing they show on the website. They don't even show this standard one. There's another company, I think it's Diageo. They make all kind of flavored whiskey, but there's a standard just whiskey, you know. But try finding it. I'm trying to think of the name of that. Oh, doesn't matter because I'm not going to buy it anytime soon. It's on there with Diageo website. They have a link to the brand website. Okay. Okay. Thank you, John and Dilly, for the glasses. Tasting time. Well, one thing we'll notice here. Got to sip a little bit more down. There's slightly different amounts, and that will throw you off. Throw me off. Because you can feel it in your hand, the weight difference. I guess I'm sensitive to those things. This is amber. This one is gold. So they're not the same color. They're clear. They both have nice alcohol eggs and all of that. But the Seagram 7 Crown is amber and the Old Camp is gold. It's a very light colored American blended whiskey. So right there, that's telling me, okay, they're not going to taste the same. Are they going to be profoundly different? Doubt it. When I did the solo review of Old Camp, you know, sitting out in the yard out there, it was really hot too. Tasted good. I mean, it tasted like kind of like Seagram 7 Crown, which tastes good. The thing about Seagrams is that you get more wood. You get more wood and less corn distillate, less grain alcohol. You're paying $12 a bottle. Now you can get McCormick for $6 a bottle in this area. Well, one store I know, $6 a bottle, $5.99 actually, and the Seagram's $11.99. Okay, so let's just round up, 6 or 12. Is there a big difference between the $6 bottle and the $12 bottle? Initially, there isn't. And I think the McCormick is also being distilled at Midwest Grain Products. It's bottled in Missouri, but it doesn't say distilled in Missouri. In isolation, and this is what's important about these, because in isolation, you won't detect things. In isolation, the McCormick is fine. You know, it tastes like regular old whiskey. It's not too full of character, but it's fine, you know. But then when you put it up in competition against the Seagram 7 Crown, it doesn't hold up because it's so much grain, alcohol, and so little wood. And the Seagram's shines through. It's kind of like that 100 Piper's blended Scotch. On its own, when you're drinking it, reviewing it, it's fine. It tastes good. It has some quality characteristics. But when you put it up against a Cutty Sark, or even worse case, you put it up against the Buchanan's 12-year, the Buchanan's Deluxe. Nah, it doesn't work. It doesn't hold up. It's like you're drinking distilled corn with just the faintest hint of smoke. Now, in isolation, the smoke seems to shine through all right, but you put it up against Buchanan's, it's a pathetic joke. So it's funny how these taste challenges will make you think on the drinks instead of just drinking on the drinks. You know what I mean? Some people might say, I'm a boozer. I just drink and get drunk and all that. And I don't care. Well, I mean, you know, there's that approach. I know some people that take that approach every day. One person I knew took it to the extreme and died, 49 years old, 2 years ago. Very bad story. At least he was getting destroyed on Crown Royal. He could have taken the cheap route and gotten destroyed on some hooch. But at the end of the day, did it really matter? No, it did not. All right. So I know people that take that approach, the boozing, getting smashed approach. And this one guy I know lives here. He said, I go to, and I know where he goes. I go there and get the Crystal Palace gin, and I see him photos on Facebook. He's got the Crystal Palace, the half pint he's drinking. I said, well, if that's your game plan, then you know Crystal Palace will work fine. It's very popular here. That's kind of Louisiana's a drinking state with a football problem. So, and if you review Crystal Palace, it has some merit to it. It's not terrible, but be best to freeze it first. But when you start putting it in competition, everything just breaks down. It just can't. It's like the least of the bunch. It's not good. But I'm saying the point there is that some of these even low grade things have some merit on their own if you think on it instead of just drinking on it. But once you put it in competition and you think on it, then you can see the difference. You see the difference. You see the difference. Okay. So I think in this one, my prediction is that, yes, Seagram 7 Crown will win. I will be able to tell it apart, but I don't think it's going to be a profound victory. You know, it's not going to be clear cut, like I think there will be competition. Yeah, Daylight's coming in strong now. Good. Going to go walking a half mile while it's still somewhat cool. It was 96 yesterday. Oh, man. I was just sitting there in the heat, and I said, man, it's just something how hot it can be. Okay, the aroma here. It smells sweet and candy-like. I noticed that a lot of whiskeys smell like candy, taste like candy. I am getting corn distillate, but yeah, a little wood, not so much charred, but this is not bourbon, you know. Anyway, so let's go over here. Maybe more grain alcohol. I read a fascinating article about blended Scotch, not versus, wasn't one pitting one against the other. It was just talking about them. So it was grain, it was blended Scotch and single malt. It was very fascinating. I posted it on Alcohol Eggs. If you join that, you can read it. Okay. The one on my right hand has more of a burn, just burn. Burn, Cato Bun. This one Has more wood and more sweetness. Okay, so initially, I think this is 7 Crown, and I think this is Old Camp. I won't be able to do Old Camp in too many competitions. You see, that's only a 100 milliliter bottle. I got it so cheap. I'm not going to go pay $19.99 for a regular size bottle of this at Walmart because it is not worth it. I'm not paying for the name. Nice looking bottle though. Got to give them the credit. Good design. Whoever the band hired to do their labels and everything did a good job. Okay, but you know, I'm not going to pay that. All right. Taste time. There's a rush of grain alcohol. No surprise. There's the sweetness, the candy-like quality, a little floral, like nectar from a flower, honeysuckle, let's say. And there's the underlying wood with just the touch, tiniest little tickle, touch, hint, or breath of wood or char. But this is very, very mellow. Like they say on the website, 7 Crown is fine for sipping on its own. And they say something along the lines of even better in a mixed drink. Well, I mean, that's what it's created for. Okay. Somebody might say, well, that's a bar whiskey. I know I'll see it at every bar I ever go to. And I don't really go to bars. I just, if I'm at a restaurant, I go kind of look and see what they've got. Always have 7 Crown. They always have it. You know, there's certain things that always going to have J&B Scotch. Always have that. They always have Jack Daniels naturally. You know what I mean? There's just some things they're going to have. They'll always have Bud Light. Now this one here, yeah. That one was a little rough, and that was a lot of corn. I mean, it's just like corn. Canned yellow corn. I mean, without the salt. You know, the sodium. Oh, woo. Now, come on, Florida Georgia Line. Come on, Old Camp. You think I'm going to pay $19.99 for this? I could pay $6.19 and get the dang Heaven Hill. Is the Old Camp better than Heaven Hill? A little bit, maybe, but it's not. I'm not paying $19.99 when I could pay $6.19 and something is $1 better, if it's $1 better. So, you know, you got to balance those things out. You want to know the truth? I'm not even looking to buy any more blended whiskey. Okay, I've been there. I've done that. I still got about 5 bottles unopened. 5. Let me think about that. Ooh, it's probably like 8. Bellows Club Whiskey. T.W. Samuels. King Square. Yeah, that's the ones I can think of. Oh, all right. Woo. I guess I was a little exuberant buying when I was buying in that little spending spree. Of course, the prices were so low. It's not exactly, didn't exactly put myself in trouble there economically. But they taste so similar, you know, it's like, okay. But you say, well, you could say the same thing about regular old adjunct beers. Yeah, that's true. They do kind of like taste pretty much the same. There's some variances, but it's so minimal. Same thing with these. The labels are different. Okay. It's got to be 7 Crown because of that sweetness, that nectar thing. Bucky Dent says, good morning. Good morning, Bucky Dent. It's daytime for sure now. Hey, wait a minute. On the second sip, I picked up some peach. Welch's peach soda. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. That's what I picked up. Similar body, you know, like medium body. The finish lingers a little bit, but doesn't hang around and get cloying or gross. They're just standard. I mean, I'm going to get the 7 Crown every time because, after all, like I just said, $12 a bottle, and then you can get the coupons. They run about 3 or 4 times a year. You mail it in, you get $3 more back. So we're talking about deep discounts from Diageo. I mean, I would never buy Old Camp because I would never pay that money. Yeah, I bought this little tiny bottle because I paid $1.99 at one of these little special promotions they had by the counter, you know, when you check out. Well, they do that in Louisiana. I don't know what your state does, but it's probably common in your state too. They have these discounts. Okay, all right. Last call, and then I'm going to call it. Now, who wins? I guess this one wins, but not by much. Not by much. Yeah, because it's got less of that grain alcohol burn. This one here is just like, I could just drink Barton Premium. That was $5.99. No joke. All right, this has got to be 7 Crown. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Oh well, then too bad. But it's got to be, you know. S7C, Seagram 7 Crown. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I did it. I did it. Now, it brings us to the final question. Is Seagram 7 Crown the best American blended whiskey on the market? Think about that for a minute. Well, considering I've never tried every American blended whiskey on the market, right? You got to take that into. I've tried a good amount, nowhere near the total, which is hundreds of brands. It must be hundreds of brands. Well, so far, it's really knocking them down. You know, it's just it's just taking them apart. So I don't know if it's the best because I haven't had them all, but from what I've had, Seagram 7 Crown is just destroying the rest, really. It just, at first it tastes like it's marginally different, but as you keep sipping on it, it just starts to just gut the rest. The Old Camp is fine, but there's no competition. Like 7 Crown is just where it's at. You know? Now, some viewers might say, don't you realize that American blended whiskey is not where it's at? This is not 1965, fool. I know that. You know, at one time it was like more popular than bourbon. Like the truth really was. Bourbon used to not be popular at all. And it was like really marginal in the 70s and all. But look at it today. I was reading some articles. They were talking about, is this thing about to end? There were signs, market signals that maybe the bourbon airship might be starting to come down. And what did I wrote a comment? I said, all booms snap. All booms snap. And it's always the same story. Like it gets popular, so they flood the market. And then people are overwhelmed by it. You know, oh Lord, another bourbon. And then other things come into play, you know. Then the vodka thing, vodka, everything vodka. Now all the flavor vodka. Oh boy, you know, you just can't imagine. But anyway, so the 7 Crown, yeah, still wears the crown. 7 Crown, where's the crown of American blended whiskey? Okay. Bucky said, when did the bourbon thing start? You mean like this big bourbon fad? Like, you don't want to say fad, you know, because it's so popular. Well, it probably goes back to the late 80s when Jack Daniels started coming out with those Frank Sinatra editions, and then they started having the single barrel editions, and all these other ones started coming into play. Bullet and the Blantons. Yeah, that was another big one. That was like one of the original highfalutin ones, you know, like in 1984 Blantons, you know, with the horsey on it, you know. But so that it just built, you know, there was no internet, right? I mean, there was CompuServe, there was the internet in 1984, but it was not, you know what I'm saying? It was all like chat rooms, so to speak. I was even reading about a rock band, Jefferson Starship, they said was one of the early groups that had like a CompuServe following. And I'm talking about like 1983, 84. And that's why their concerts always sold out, because they had like this weird, you know, you had these bands with these like cultish following, and they would chat with each other. Oh, the next concert, like the Grateful Dead type thing. Who was up until they broke up because of the death of their founder. When the Grateful Dead ended in 1995, they were the second biggest touring revenue band in the United States. I think the Rolling Stones were #1. So, but they had that following, that internet. But like I said, it was all like just text. They would contact each other. But so when the Bourbon thing started to rise up, that was before what we would consider the internet today. And I can remember like in 1997, 96, 97, 98, I would go to the library. I didn't have a computer, you know. It was free, you know. I'd just go to the library and get on the internet. It was all dial up. It was kind of slow, but you didn't think of it as slow. I mean, it was slow. You could say to yourself, you know, this is going to get faster. You knew that. But and there were some rudimentary websites. I remember Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer had an early website, which wasn't bad at the time. They made it look like an old bar room, you know, with old, they even had music. That was like around 2000 when I started noticing that. So the point I'm trying to make is if they would have had the internet in 1984, 85, and not the rudimentary one, the Bourbon thing probably would have gotten big and peaked maybe in the late 80s and already started dying out, because, you know, people like they overdo things on the internet. You know, it becomes like, whoa, 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 whoa. And it very much more quickly, people get sick of it, you see. And then they're on to something else. So I think with the internet days and people's attention span being much less due to jumping around, you know, they just jump around on the internet. So then you can't. But in the 80s, it was a slow build, right? Because you have to read everything or watch A&E, and it might be an hour-long show about bourbon, you know, and you watch the whole show. It wasn't like you could record it and fast forward through it on a VCR. That was an option. So, but that's what I mean. So now it's like a big deal, and then it peaks, and then it starts to drop off today. But that's when Bourbon, and I'm not sitting here tracking it. They're saying, I'm not saying it. I read these articles. They're saying it could have already peaked, whatever. But that's immaterial to me, because I'm just slowly drinking through these brands. And so whatever peaks or doesn't peak is immaterial, you know, in my case. So that's it. So, but it's funny, you read these internet articles like 10 beer brands no one drinks anymore. That's obviously what they call clickbait. And, you know, and they'll say, well, this beer brand used to sell 50 million barrels. Now they only sell 20 million barrels. Well, you just said no one drinks it anymore, but they still make 20 million barrels. Okay, so somebody's drinking it. It's just, the whole article is idiotic. All right, anyway, enough of that rambling on like Led Zeppelin. All right. What is coming up next? Old Camp, I think I have it in 2 days. I think I have it scheduled to go up against Beam's 8-star. You say Beams 8-star. What the heck is that? I heard of Jim Beam. Yeah, that's one of those. They don't even want to talk about it. Like at least Diageo will talk about Seagram 7 Crown. They have a website, you know. Oh yeah, Seagram 7 Crown. Let's talk about Seagram 7 Crown. Jim Beam, you say 8-star. Oh, sir, can you please leave the room now? You know, they don't want to talk about that. Oh no, 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 no. 8-star. No, we don't talk about 8-star. Thanks for watching this video production. Once again, the winner, clearly the winner, Seagram 7 Crown.